So welcome to another OUSA Monthly Forum. We have presenters from 3 different clubs to tell us about what their club does in the way of beginner introductory events focused on beginners. We are recording this section, so if you aren't comfortable being recorded, don't show yourself, don't talk or leave as required to make yourself comfortable. And yeah, that covers the basics. Without further ado, Jim and Kathi Mullin of MNOC, MNOC, please start sharing your screen and present for your event.
All right. Jim, okay. Share. Okay.
All right. Presumably you're seeing a flyer and a few other words next to it. I'm Jim Mullin.
And I'm Kathi Mullin.
And we put on a skills clinic every year, generally early spring, one of our first events. And we do this in along with a regional park in our area. That park is real important for us to work with the park district. They not only supply the venue, they also advertise and bring in all of their put it on their calendar and send it out to everybody that's on their mailing list. Our goal is basically just to have participants get excited and enjoy orienteering, and hopefully continue and to come to our events and maybe become members.
In order for this to run smoothly, we need a lot of volunteers. We usually try to get between 25 and 30 volunteers. You need to start recruiting them early. They really are the key to making this run successfully. We'll talk about how we run the volunteers later. One of the bonuses that we've found from having a lot of volunteers come to our skills clinic is often they become much more active members of our club after they volunteered for this event.
So we start with a classroom session. We do 2 of them, one early and one late. And we try to spread the number of participants in each class out. We haven't had great success at that. If you do something like this, you might put cutoffs so that you can get an even number of people in each session. So this is the PowerPoint presentation that we have someone give. It's about 45 minutes long, and it just goes through the basics of how to orienteer. We're not trying to make any experts. We want them to have fun and get used to using the map, making sure that they orient it right, and hopefully are able to look at the map and see some features and also see those same features in the terrain. All right, so next one.
Yeah, no, you're going backwards.
There.
Okay, so then we have the volunteers guide the participants on a white course. Hopefully, we hope in this guiding that they're using the same language that the classroom presenter did, and are helping those participants use thumbing, figure out how to find landmarks, that sort of thing.
Okay, so I shared the tab that isn't as easy to see. So now the groups are normally 5 to 6 people. We walk the course, and just having people look at the features, point them out on the map, make sure that they're orienting their map properly. Speed isn't the important thing. Advanced compass skills can come later.
Basically, our goal is to try and make this experience as seamless and welcoming for new orienteers as it can be. It should be a fun day. And then the guided course is a white course, and we also have a white course, our yellow course, that the participants can go out on their own. Guides come back and are available to discuss the map and the routes before and after the participants do the course. Then there's an optional orange sprint that's mostly for the volunteers. It's something fun to do for the volunteers. But again, new orienteers can do this course for more challenge, and the guides are there to discuss the map and strategy with them for this one as well. There is a maze game that we have that's fun and also helps hone orienteering skills, and it's a nice way for people when they're waiting for their classroom session or waiting for guides. One of the first things that I would suggest in doing something like this, there are multiple steps, and you first need to start with the to-do list. I usually start with a month ahead of time. It is a different to-do list than a regular meet. There are more volunteers. There are a lot of different things that happen. So I start a month ahead of time. I stay in close contact with the park liaison. That's very important. Each year, there are new participants. So the yellow and white courses stay the same. It's only the orange sprint that we change. The next thing is we have volunteer jobs. We need to have a detailed description of what the jobs are. We've found it's really important to have a lead volunteer that runs the registration and computer, runs the maze, and also runs the orienteering class. It takes an awful lot of pressure off the primary organizers. One of the primary organizers also, we found in this, should be just a floater and a troubleshooter that day rather than having actual jobs. In a schedule, you're way ahead of where we are. In the schedule, I make a schedule that I send out at least a week ahead to all of the volunteers, and it shows the different timing, what activity is, what volunteers are doing it, what equipment they need. I also then do a schedule for each individual volunteer and to let them know. And I send this out just in case there's any trouble and we need to change anything. One of the things that we found is that the computer stations, we found that we need to have 3 computer stations, one for each of the courses, because we had big backups and it was very hard for people running the registration to keep downloading people and registering them for a new event. So if you have multiple courses, consider multiple download stations. All the pre-registered folks are already put in the, what are you doing? Already put in the computer before it starts. We have a volunteer meeting before this happens. We go through, we emphasize the goals for guiding the new orienteers, everyone using the same language. We can answer questions. It's a way to gather together. We have a volunteer room, and it works well. Jim, go away. This is you, Jim.
All right. So we found that most participants have a great time, but getting them to actually be involved in the club and keep coming to the meets is still a big step for them to make. Some of the suggestions that we would make would be make sure everybody gets a handout of the year's schedule so they can put it on their calendars. Make sure that everybody who signed up gets on your mailing list. At the skills clinic, we also have a station where people can get more information, buy some of our permanent orienteering maps, or join the club. Some things we we haven't tried but are thinking about are things like having a coupon for a free meet, or a good deal on a membership. But in any case, keep track of what works and keep track of who of these folks that have had so much fun on this day actually end up joining our club. So that's the deal. Thanks. And
Okay, if anyone has some questions or needs something clarified from this, we could take a few now. Put your hand up fairly quickly or speak up, or we're going to move on. Of course, there'll be more Q&A time later.
Oh,
Blaik?
Jim and Kathi, how many times did you say you do this? Do you do it like once a year? How long have you done it?
once a year, and we've done it. We didn't originally organize it, but I think our club's been doing it for, how long would you say, 15 years, maybe 20 years?
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Anyone else? Okay, over to you, Ron. Ron of Greater Phoenix Orienteering, Ron Birks.
Yes, thanks very much. I'm going to hope that everything goes well here. Can people see my screen?
I can see you.
Okay, well, that's
Not
not
yet.
good, is it?
Although I guess Peter can, or maybe that was congratulating Jim and Kathi. Thumbs up.
Yeah. This is fun. If you're not able to see my screen, let me see what might be blocking it this time.
Yeah, we didn't have this trouble in rehearsal.
Oh, it's panic mode.
I've got your screen now. Great.
Yay! Yeah, the panic mode set in, and you know what? I didn't know what was going on. So let's see how this works. Okay, so I assume you can see my first screen there.
Yes.
Looks good.
Absolutely.
Good. Great. So my name is Ron Birks. I'm from the Greater Phoenix Orienteering Club. We're kind of a small club in a city of over 5 million people. We have a small club and not a lot of volunteers. So I listened to the Minnesota club and hear that they get 25 volunteers at an event. And wow, that's incredible. We need to, in Phoenix, we need to work on growing our membership and getting more volunteers. So maybe we can learn from some of you guys. What I'd like to do here is just give a quick overview of what we do. Because we are a small club and we don't have a lot of volunteers, we do things quite autonomously. There will be sometimes only one person that is the meet director, the course setter, and does everything. So that's one of the problems that we have. So we just do what we can with what we have. So again, hopefully we'll get better in the future with advertising and recruiting volunteers. But each year, what we do is we try to have 6 standalone beginners clinics.
Wow.
And the reason we have standalone beginners clinics is because trying to do a beginners clinic at the same time as we're doing an event, well, we would need more people to do that. And we just don't typically get more people. Again, oftentimes we're doing our events autonomously. So one person is doing everything. The clinics that we do have right now, we do them in city parks. We sometimes do things at regular events. You know, if people come up and they say, yeah, we'd like a little refresher, we'll give an overview, but we don't have anything really organized at the regular events. And also we will get calls from schools, from Boy Scout groups, from American Heritage Girls groups, junior ROTC groups. They'll have us come and give a presentation, and that we do. We don't have anything regularly scheduled. That's 100% ad hoc. So that's kind of what our goals are a year. Each year we try to do 6. What we were doing in the past is we were doing a lot of clinics in libraries. And so we do a classroom training, and then we'd go out into a local city park and practice out there. We found that the clinics in the libraries weren't as much fun because you're not outdoors. You're doing things indoors. It was a little stale. I think it was a little bit easier for us, at least in our experience, to do things outdoors. And so we stopped doing them in libraries. We also had some hassle reserving rooms in libraries, and we preferred to do them out in parks anyway. So I think we stopped doing things in libraries a couple of years ago. So like I said, we currently do about 6 clinics. We kind of about 3/4 of the clinics are in city parks, and we partner with several cities around the Phoenix area. It works pretty well because the Parks and Recreation departments, they provide a helper, and they seem fairly excited to have us go out there and teach some land navigation skills. During our clinics, we really focus on orienting yourself with the compass and measuring distance with a pace count. We only do a 1.5-hour clinic, and so we don't really get into a lot of the map skills that we'd like to do. Just reading the map, but we'll just cover it just really basically in our clinic. We do charge $5 per participant. We were doing it for free, and we would get 40 people to sign up and 10 people that show up. So it's kind of hard to plan when you're getting that type of a response. So we started to charge $5 per participant. It increased our attendance ratio quite considerably just with that $5. We also have started doing a lot of fixed orienteering courses. We started doing that when we were getting calls from Boy Scouts to help them with the maps. They would set up markers in different parks around the valley, the Phoenix area, and we would go out and map that area and make sure all the markers were on the map. So it was really a good coordination we were doing with Boy Scouts. We also have done some campus courses. We've got some at Northern Arizona University and some community colleges like Glendale Community College in the Phoenix area. So on the campus courses, we just answer questions. We don't put up markers. In city parks, we actually have been able to install markers. We have all of our fixed orienteering courses maps on our websites. And just recently, starting last year, we started to put things into iOrienteering. I think most people are familiar with MapRun. iOrienteering is the same type of deal. So we started doing that last year. This is just the iOrienteering website. You can see we have a couple in Flagstaff. We have 3 actually in Phoenix, and we hope to expand that in the future. What the iOrienteering does is kind of gives people, like parents with their children, can go out to these fixed courses and they can navigate to the different points. And when they get to a known point, they will see the marker, but also they'll get an audible signal, as we all know. And so we find that it makes it kind of fun for the kids to hear that audible signal and see the marker too. So we did determine that iOrienteering is available for iPhone and Android. I don't know if others of you have used this, but it works fairly well for us. When on our fixed orienteering courses, again, we have a number of them in the Valley. And some of them, if people don't have iOrienteering on their phone, then they can still mark down the 2-letter code we usually have, or the number code that we have. For instance, down there at the bottom of this screen, you can see the number 18. One of the parks, there was a fixed orienteering course set up in the past, and we just came in and made a map. And so people, as they're navigating to the different points, they would mark that down in the appropriate box. For iOrienteering, they would start with their iPhone and they would scan the QR code, and then the iOrienteering would tell them to go to the start and start the navigating from there. This is just an example map. This is on a community college. In these, I think all of you probably do this. In these types of courses, we just go to a certain point and say, how many windows are above this door? What is the number above this door? What is the voltage on the electrical box, marked on the electrical box, things like that. So we'll have questions that they answer for this type of a map. This is an example of the questions. So I think others do the same type of thing when you don't have markers to do. Finally, I just wanted to indicate the types of things that we do within our clinics. We just do a kind of a general overview. Like I said before, we try to focus on orienting yourself with the compass and measuring the distance with a pace count. those are the two things we really focus on, but we also give a little bit of an introduction to reading the map, the different colors on the map. We go through a little bit of the contour lines, and navigating using a reference point, using handrails. You've got a catching feature, things like that. So we do go through some of those things just very briefly. We don't get a lot of time to practice those things with the participants. We do get some practice on this last slide here. When we're teaching them to orient themselves with their map, we have 4 example maps here, and we have some cones set out in the park that we're doing our clinic in. And we just say, okay, you're at point A. Tell me what letter you see at the question mark. So they'll be at a cone that's marked point A, and then they have to use their compass to point to a second cone, which is the question mark, and then they just have to identify. In this case, it's point B is what they would be going to. So we have 4 little examples they can run through just to start to get familiar with using the compass to orient themselves correctly. We also do some things with scale on these 4 maps. You can see I've got 4 different scales, and we want them to measure the distance between point A and the question mark. In the upper left map there, you can see that it's 3 centimeters at 1 to 10,000. They have to multiply it by 100 meters per centimeter, so it's 300. They have these exercises too. So that's kind of the an overview of what we do in our clinics. We'd like to do much more like the Minnesota club does, but we always have room to grow. And so that was my presentation.
Okay, we'll take questions again if anyone has them about what Ron just said. Blaik again.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Are all of these presentations going to be available after the videos here?
Sorry, are all of the
PowerPoints, are we going to be able to download them?
okay, some of our presenters have other documents to share as well that I need to check with Christina whether we've got them on our Google Drive already. Would anyone object to sharing their actual presentation as well?
No.
Okay, I think we can include those too. And sorry, was that you, Blaik, or was that someone else? I'm not even certain.
No, that was me. I was just saying to Ron, you weren't the only one who did a double take up to the 25 volunteers thing.
Oh my!
From, the first presentation.
I want to go to Minnesota and see how they do it.
Yeah. Actually, Ron, how many people do you have in a typical one of these 6 you do annually in the city park?
Oh,
I'm sorry, was that for me?
Yes. How many attendees do you typically have?
So we do 6 of these events. We get anywhere from 0 to about 10. And we try to limit it also because as I said, we do things autonomously. So, if we get more than 10, it starts to hurt my little head.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to talk to a group too much larger than that out in the open.
The other thing is, if there are children coming, I ask their parents to come too, please, because children scare me. You can't grab the attention of someone that's looking off in the distance and kicking rocks, and they're there to learn, and it's like, I don't know what to do. The kids scare me.
Okay, I don't think anyone else has their hand up, so we'll go
also
over to
wanted to
Blaik
say-
now to talk about
John,
what Florida Orienteering does.
John, could I just make it real clear that this is our yearly skills clinic is where we get 20 to 25 volunteers. We get that kind of, I think probably our adventure race in the summer might, but normally we don't have that many volunteers. We're, like other clubs. We may have 5.
Your typical events are leaner than that, yes.
Yeah, beside the setter and the vetter, we usually have maybe around 5 or 6 people per meet.
Yeah. Okay, understood. Blaik, your turn.
Okay. So I'm going to show my slide deck in a second. I strongly suggest, just to get the best effect, that you go to the bottom center of your screen, 3 dots menu, and take full screen on that if you haven't done it already, just so you get the best view of the slides. And I'm going to share them here. I hope. Did they come through?
Not yet for me.
Okay, how about that?
You're presenting now, yes.
Didn't do what I expected.
Sorry, and now we lost it, but I guess you know that already. Okay. Second time the charm, hopefully.
Okay, did that work?
We have your opening slide again, so
Okay, perfect.
let's
All
try
right,
to
sorry
move
about
forward.
that. Okay, so there we go. Okay, now I think I'm advancing. Okay, so this is just a quick discussion of the evolution of Flow's training outreach program. Like many clubs, we used to do have a person available at the civilian registration to give the 5-minute training to anybody who is new. But that's always a challenge to have somebody there to have availability to do that. And 5 minutes is kind of a lame attempt at a real training course. So we've always wanted to do more. So about 2 years ago, we started offering a more in-depth training. And we actually partnered with the local REI store in Winter Park here in town. They do regular classes and all sorts of outdoor activities. And they have a training room set up. They provide the projector and the screen and the room. And we just show up and do the training for them. And so we started offering first just a beginner class intended for people who had never had any exposure to orienteering at all. And this is the blurb that I send out about it. Just if you'd like to get acquainted with orienteering, then come and we'll give you some basic training. And the topics we cover are what is orienteering, because we're speaking to an audience of people, many of whom have barely heard the term before. We spend quite a bit of time on how to read and use an orienteering map. So we go over the basic colors and some of the symbology. We talk a little bit about reading topographic map and other elements that you need just to be able to understand what's on the map. We do some basic map and compass navigational techniques. We talk about the use of an attack point, what an attack point is, and how you use it. We talk about car route planning your route in reverse, starting at the control, backwards to the attack point, then plan your route to get there. And we talk about collecting features, because that's super important for, especially for beginners, to avoid becoming lost, to kind of stay in touch with the map as you travel. We also have a section, you saw a slide in the previous, a shot in the previous slide, me talking about this useful smartphone technology. We talk about the 3 applications that we strongly recommend all of our participants get on their phones to use, which are What 3 Words, which is our positional application that lets you get directions to any point on the planet, whether or not it has a physical street address. Also useful for search and rescue. Live locks, of course. We've had numerous sessions in this forum about that in the past for recording and studying your track after the fact. We recommend everybody use that. And Map Run was also previously mentioned. That's the application we use for self-service orienteering on all our permanent and semi-permanent courses. And then finally, we talk about the basics of where and how to go orienteering. We mentioned the permanent courses that people can go to, but mainly we talk about our live events. And I actually give out a document that gives them a checklist of things they should bring and what they should pack and what they should expect in order to come to a live event. Initially, the class was 60 minutes, but I could not be contained to an hour. So it is now stretched to about a 90-minute class. And I do have PowerPoint slide deck that I go through. And we also have a few stand up and stretch your legs, map and compass exercises in the class. We give out a set of free handouts for the class. I give out a one-page summary for the entire class, what I'm going to cover, the basic bullet points and so forth, so they don't have to take notes. We give out a sample map, one of our local permanent courses. We give out a map legend that talks about symbology and colors and such. The checklist that I just mentioned for coming to your first event that has a packing list and what to expect and what to wear and all that sort of thing. And then we give out a coupon for one free beginner course registration at one of our live events. Some things from this, kind of lessons learned, I guess, things that work in this training. One of them, of course, is big, colorful visuals on the screen. That really does seem to help a lot. This is one of the slides that I use talking about the map and the different colors on it and what they mean. This is several slides in, so you're looking at kind of a summary of what we talk about here, but big, colorful slides are very good. Another big hit is the hands-on exercises. People consistently say they learn well by having hands-on, having the compass and the map physically in their hands and working with it. In the classroom, of course, what we can do is limited, but we do hand out compasses, have them stand up, put the map on the compass on the map, orient the map to north, and then I go through a couple of exercises where I have them turn in unison and reorient, and then turn randomly, so everybody's facing a different direction and reorient. And we talk about how that works and the fact that it's all about turning the map and so forth. And then the third thing I would strongly recommend is use of LiveLox playbacks. As you know, I'm a huge proponent of LiveLox, and these playbacks really go over well in class. We use samples of what people have actually done on real courses to illustrate points and talk about the a control attack point route planning and so forth. It also, I think, beyond just being a good visual explanation, I think it also helps the beginners to realize that people aren't born being good at this. They can watch an example of where a real person made a real mistake, and then we talk about how to avoid that and how to recover from the mistake and so forth. And I think that gives them a little bit more confidence about going out and trying this on their own. In the classroom, of course, we can do very limited actual hands-on exercises, just the map and the compass, basically. So in addition to the classroom, we also offer a guided field exercise that's optional but highly recommended. And we kind of lucked out because there's a very beautiful botanical garden just a few blocks from the REI where we teach the classes, and I made a map of that and set up a virtual course on MapRun in that park. It's a very small park. So it's an easy sell for us because basically the course circles the parking lot, and therefore at no point are you ever more than 5 minutes from your car. And I tell them that, like, if you're going to go with this, you can kind of choose how long you want to walk. If you ever need to bail early, you're never far from your car. So it's an easy sell, right, to get people to come. And frequently I'll have half of the class or more come to that exercise, the field exercise, even if they didn't know in advance that it was going to be an option. So what we'll do is break for lunch and then reconvene at the park after lunch and do this guided walk through the course. I have to actually have them use what 3 words. I print it right on the map, print the location with the what 3 words address right on the map where we're going to start. So everybody gets practice using the what 3 words application to obtain turn-by-turn directions to an exact spot within a park, the exact thing they'll have to do when they go to a real event. When we get out there, I'll talk a little bit about MapRun. We'll have them get set up in MapRun. And then I'll lead the first couple of legs through the course just to model for them the behavior, the thinking, the execution. And then after that, I have them take it in turns. I conscript a volunteer to lead the next leg and then the next leg and so forth. After a while, people get kind of excited about being able to do it. And of course, along the way, I'm pointing out example features. Again, we got kind of lucky in this park because there are lovely examples of distinct trees and rootstocks and re-entrance. There's some topography out there. So I have a lot of places where I can point out, here's what this looks like, and here's what it is on the map, to give them the exposure of matching map to environment. As I mentioned, we also have them set up and use MapRun for this guided walk. So they get the experience at least once of using MapRun to walk through a course. So along the way, their phones are beeping as we approach each course. And then after the fact, they get to look at their track and see everywhere that they went on the map as we prosecuted the course. After we did this, so we started doing this about 2 years ago. And after about the first year or so, I began to get a lot of requests for another class to go to the next level, to teach people more intermediate level skills in orienteering. So we developed a second course with a slide deck and an accompanying field exercise as well. In that class, we go beyond the basics. We review the stuff from the first class, but then we talk about how to walk a bearing off trail using your compass, how to set the bearing with the map and walk it. We talk about estimating distance and measuring it via pace counting. And then your basic heuristics of using a handrail, using catching features, aiming off on a catching feature, and how to relocate when temporarily misoriented using the SOFA technique. We also go into a little bit more detailed discussion. If the SOFA technique doesn't work, what else can you do? Well, you can backtrack. You can use the safety bearing printed on the map and so forth. And then finally, we have a little bit more of a philosophical discussion about being lost, because being lost is an inevitability if you go into the woods enough, and I want them to be prepared for it. So we talk about the feeling of being lost and the kinds of processes that go on in your head and how to recover from those. So we cover all of those topics in the intermediate class. We developed a separate course. This, of course, has to be more involved. You can't just go to a manicured botanical garden because you're trying to practice off-trail skills. So we go to a real park here in Oviedo, a few miles away from the REI. And our board member, Joni Haas, designed this course that you see here as a practice for all of those intermediate skills. And just like the first one, it is a guided walk. I lead the first leg to try and model the behavior, and then we kind of work together, taking it in turns to go from leg to leg. In addition, we started doing another exercise, which I think has been a big hit, which is the SOFA exercise, the relocation exercise. It actually happens right here at number 4. Once we found that number 4 marker, I confiscate all of their maps and compasses, tell them to watch their feet and follow me, and I lead them on kind of a meandering track off into the woods right around here, but about midway between 4 and 5, off to the left side of the direct track. And then I give the maps and compasses back, and I say, okay, now you're lost. I've lost you. So now you have your map and compasses back. I want you to apply the skills from class on how to relocate and figure out how we're going to get back on track and resume our track to number 5. And I kind of lead them in a guided discussion of how to do that, and we make our way to number 5. And I think this is a really good exercise for those intermediate people because it gives them a degree of confidence that they can become lost, and they have the tools in hand and an experience of being able to recover from that. So we do this monthly now. We started out doing the beginner class once a month. Now I do the beginner and the intermediate once each a month. And typically we'll do them on an alternating schedule, one weekday evening and then a Sunday morning. And each month we'll flip-flop, beginner and intermediate. And the field exercise, of course, occurs after the Sunday morning class. Whatever the Sunday morning class is for that month, we'll teach the classroom, take a break for lunch, and then do the intermediate or do the field exercise after the fact. I don't have a good count on the total number of people. Sadly, I did not conscientiously count the number of people at every class we've done. But my guess, based on the number of people who have signed up for our email list, is an aggregate total of about 300 to 400. I believe it was Ron who mentioned that they would get a lot of signups, and then only about half of the people would actually turn up. That has been our experience as well. REI handles all the signups. They have a website for that sort of thing. So people sign up to come to the class on the REI website. They give us a list of all the folks who signed up, and generally we get about 50% who actually show. If you want to do this in your own club, as I said, we've been partnering with REI. I highly recommend them. It's been a very productive relationship for us. In part, this is because REI already has both the facility and the kind of web presence of signing up. They already have a series of classes. They're experienced with running them. They've got this automatic sign up process, so we didn't have to generate any of that. They handle all of that for us. The other factor, of course, is that REI has good reach. They have a wide audience of people who are outdoorsy type of people, who are just the sort of people we're looking for. So we're tapping in not only to their facility and their experience, but also their audience as well. So highly recommend them. These are some of the REI locations around the country. So check and see if there's one near you. I highly recommend it. Other outreach partners we've used, somebody else mentioned scouting organizations. We've done some training for the scouts using the same slide deck as well. Homeschool organizations, that's pretty big in Florida, probably elsewhere as well. The homeschools are always looking for something outdoorsy to do to get their students trained up on, so they're pretty receptive to doing orienteering. We've also had a couple of relationships with Friends of Whatever Park. They'll have a group of volunteers at each park that helps the staff keep the park up and so forth. We've had a couple of those groups reach out to us and ask if we would do training for them. And then finally, the one I'm really kind of excited about right now is we were just recently contacted by Orange County Public Schools to see if maybe we would do a training for their PE instructors group in the fall. So I'm kind of hopeful that that will pan out, and maybe we'll get some reach into the entire Orange County public school system using that. Now, the once a year thing, we usually do once or twice. Actually, I guess we do 3 training camps a year for our JROTC cadets, usually 50 to 150 cadets at a time. Usually in the early part of the year. This is a photo of one of our training camps that happens in August each year. We just started getting some inquiries mostly from the adventure race community, but also from some of the general public about, hey, can I maybe, instead of coming to this 90-minute class, could I come to one of these training camps that lasts the whole day or the whole weekend and get some more in-depth training? So this year, we're going to try experimenting with opening one of those camps up to public registrations and see how that goes over. I don't really know how many people will sign up for it, but we're going to find out. We're going to open it up and see how many people are into it. And that's it for me.
Yeah.
So
there were a couple of questions in the chat. Joseph asked if you used thumb compasses during your training, or effective Blaik plates.
I have a big bag of compasses, which are mostly, there were a few that I took from the compass rental box, but mostly they're ones we've accumulated from people who have lost them over the years and never reclaimed them. So from that perspective, yeah, I get all kinds. I've got mostly base plate compasses, but there's probably about a half dozen thumb compasses in there.
And Claire inquired as to what, if any, fee there is for the REI classes.
REI doesn't, they actually conduct some of their own classes that they charge for, like proprietary REI classes, but most of the classes taught there are like ours. They're taught by members of the community who are just into camping or mountain biking or orienteering, and those classes are generally free. We don't charge the participants anything. REI doesn't charge them anything. They do ask for a donation to their foundation for bringing outdoor activities to underprivileged communities. I think is their goal, but it's entirely optional, right? They put out a box and people are free to, drop a few bucks in it if they wish.
Yeah. Okay. So Andrea has her hand up. Andrea?
Yeah, I was kind of following up on that. I'm wondering if it's like state or region specific with the REI, because MNOC used to do, before we went to French Park 20 some years ago, I remember that our clinic was with REI. But then there was a point when they kind of switched to have them taught by internal staff, and then suddenly MNOC was no longer needed to do that. So I was wondering if it's just maybe just every state has a different thing.
It's very possible that every store has their own policy. In preparation for this meeting, I actually reached out to my contact there at REI in Winter Park to see if he had a national level contact that I could broadcast. And he said there was not one. And when I mentioned my reason, he said, yeah, you're really just going to have to contact your local REI. Not all of them have classroom spaces. Not all of them teach classes. Some of them will have different policies about who's allowed to teach. You just have to ask. Ron says that their REI actually considered them a competitor, which I find kind of difficult to comprehend, because we're really in the same business, right? We want outdoorsy people to come to our events. They want to sell people outdoorsy gear. So it seems like a win-win from my point of view.
Okay. And Peter Wenzel threw into the chat a question for everybody, I guess. How well do you know what your conversion ratio is? And to the extent you know it, what is it in terms of people who, I guess, become club members or at least show up at a subsequent regular club event?
Actually, when Joni designed the coupon that we hand out for a free free registration at one of our events, she put a coupon code on there that we're supposedly entering in our Square Up system when people redeem them. So in theory, we have some data on that, but I do not know if anybody's actually looked at it. But I can tell you that anecdotally, quite a few people who have been to those classes, not only have they come to events, but they've actually bought finger sticks and become members. So far it seems to be a pretty productive way for us to get people in the door. I don't know the percentage because I don't really know exactly how many people I've given the class to, but we're certainly getting more people in the door than we were before we started.
Okay. We just had in the chat a question about, I guess someone's unclear on how you find the what 3 years words useful, specifically during the clinic and the in-terrain session afterwards.
Oh, well, what 3 words is there are 2 main uses for it. The first one is to get turn-by-turn directions to a specific part of a park which doesn't have a street address. Like we wanted to get them to a specific pavilion. You can't just give the street address of the park. That gets you to the entrance gate, right? So you need something more detailed. And what 3 words allows you to assign a 3-word address to every 3 by 3 meter square on the entire planet, land and water. So you can get somebody to a spot half the size of a parking space, right? And so we tell everybody to put it on their phones, and then when we publish the event ahead of time, we say, here's the staging area, and we give the 3-word address. So all they have to do is click on that on their phone and say, punch the navigate button, and just like that, they have turn-by-turn directions to that exact spot. It's an incredibly useful tool for us in getting people to events. The second use is for search and rescue, because you can, if you come across somebody who's injured, say out in the woods, you can pull out that app, press the locate me crosshair button on it, and then share that location with us via text messaging. Just like that, we know exactly where they are, and we have a means of getting directly to them. So it's a great app for orienteering. It's free. I highly recommend you look at it if you haven't started using it already.
I'm a little curious with the number of apps you're asking people to install. Does that become a problem or a source of friction or delay sorting through any difficulties people have, or are people good enough at installing apps these days that it really isn't a big deal?
I haven't had the experience of things being difficult or a lot of friction in that regard. LiveLox is the most difficult of the three to install, and we don't actually use that in the training classes. That's for the live events. We do have, every year when we get a fresh crop of newbies in on the JROTC side, I'll get some questions about how to set up LiveLox and how to get it installed and troubleshooting and that sort of thing. But mainly, once you show them what you can get from it, when they see that screen with the live location info on it, and especially when their instructors and boosters and parents see it, after that, they are going to make sure those kids have that app installed and ready to go on their phone. So I kind of, once you can show them what it does, you almost automatically outsource all of that technical support to the instructors and the parents. On the general public side, obviously, we have to field those questions.
Yeah.
And we do get some.
Okay. Andrea, go ahead.
Do you see any problems sometimes with people misspelling words and then kind of, yeah.
Not usually. The What 3 Words dictionary that assigns 3-word addresses to locations is designed fairly intelligently so that words that sound alike are very far apart on the planet's surface. So if you typo something, you're going to get a destination that's probably hundreds of miles from you, and you're going to realize, hey, I fat-fingered something.
Okay, so in addition to questions, if anyone wants to tell us what their club does, it's a little different. QSE, for example, runs something. Actually, we usually do 2 events near the beginning of the season, one in Virginia, one in Maryland, that are quite similar to the MNOC Skills Clinic. I mean, there's instruction outdoors rather than the classroom. There's a map walk, and there are 2 white to yellow level courses for people to try and to talk over how they approached it, and afterwards how they did with the instructors. So it's it's a fairly high volunteer need operation. With that, anyone else who wants to raise their hand and ask any of our presenters a question or tell us what their club does, go ahead, Claire.
I'm just going to say we used to do the whole somebody at a meet, giving a little 20-minute thing, or actually, depending upon who was giving it, sometimes it was 30 to 40 minutes. But during the pandemic, we decided we didn't want people to have to gather together for that. So we made like a Google PowerPoint thing that is the same as, it covers all the information that had been in our beginner trainings. So now we just use that on our website. It's linked. Watch this if you're a beginner. When you get to the event, if you had questions about it, let us know. We have a lot of people who show up and just tell us they watched that and it answered all their questions and they don't need any other guidance to at least get going on a beginner course.
All right, Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say BOK is doing a very similar thing. I made a couple of short videos, one that goes through the whole class in about 15 minutes, and the other that just is how to use the compass, the thumb compass, because we are pretty strict on teaching thumb compasses. And since we've done that, we just have people come up I have people come up to me and say, oh, you're the guy in the video. And yeah, I did the whole course and it worked just really great. So, but I don't know how much turnaround we get in terms of, outreach for it, but it's been very useful for our beginner courses.
Yeah, I mean, ours is designed for people who already know they're signing up for an event for the most part, so it doesn't necessarily get outreach to people who aren't already participating or at least looking for orienteering as something to do.
Okay, other questions or information about things your club or any other club you've ever encountered does? I remember when I was looking for presenters, I saw the DVOA. I feel like they used to do a lot of, white, yellow only, or sometimes white, yellow, orange only events, maybe because of limitations of going off trail. Their current schedule, I only see that they do one classroom plus practical introductory clinic at the Kings Gap Environmental Center. So they seem to have scaled back from what they did years ago, at least as best I recall.
Well, this is mostly about beginners. Actually, in BOK, about half of our events are advanced and expert only. So advanced is orange and above, and expert is brown and above. And those events attract about 20 to 35, 40 people. And then the events that we have open events where it's all the levels, we attract about 80 to 100. And I guess we have open events probably almost once a month, and then advanced events a little more than once a month.
Yeah, Jim and Kathy, remind me, you do the 2 instructional sessions. How many people can you accommodate in one of those at once?
Go ahead, Jim.
About 40. We usually sometimes it gets packed to be 50 or even 60, but for our whole for between the 2 sessions, it's usually 70 to 80 people.
Yeah. Is the limitation the size of the classroom, or is it how many people you can handle for the guided map walk portion, or something else?
It's a little bit of both of those things. I mean, there is a limit in the classroom, and although we do, everybody's impressed with how many volunteers we get. If you're going to get 5 people in a group with 1 instructor or guide, that limits the number too.
When we have our JROTC training camps and try to do those train walks, we also try and keep the group size small. We can't do that with volunteers, but of course, if it's a JROTC event, a lot of the schools have people of all skill levels, right? They've got seniors who have been orienteering for 2 or 3 years, and they're good enough that they can walk through a white course and guide people around it. So for those larger events, we actually draw on the senior JROTC cadets to do some of that training with us.
We also have the JROTC folks come, and some of the young folks come, the new ROTC guys come to the skills clinic, but I don't think we've ever used them as volunteers, though.
Not as guides.
Not as guides.
That reminds me, I looked at the people, like the results of your last skills clinic. So the people who had a school affiliation beside their name, those would have been the JROTC?
Yes.
Or?
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering if you had an in with particular schools to have that many people coming from. But the JROTC is a totally satisfying explanation for how that happened.
Yep.
Okay, we are almost done the hour. We would take another couple of questions if there are another couple of questions. Otherwise, we'll probably finish more or less on time. So put your hand up or speak up quickly. Anticipating that maybe that won't happen. Thank you, Jim and Kathi, Ron, Blaik, all our
Thank-
presenters for sharing your experience.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Matt. I assume we've captured all of this. Oh, and Christina, who's also probably recording. And yeah, have a good night, everyone. I'm not sure quite what the forum next month will be, but we do have a couple of irons in the fire. We just need to decide which one to pull out. With that, good night, everyone.
Good night.